Bring a little optimism into your life with The Bright Side, a new kind of daily podcast from Hello Sunshine, hosted by me, Danielle Robay.
And me, Simone Boyce. Every weekday, we're bringing you conversations about culture, the latest trends, inspiration, and so much more.
I am so excited about this podcast, The Bright Side. You guys are giving people a chance to shine a light on their lives, shine a light on a little advice that they want to share.
Listen to The Bright Side on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search The Bright Side.
Truck stop brothels run by a web of ex-cons. A Commonwealth attorney wasted on whiskey and power. Protection exchanged for cash and flesh. This is Hookergate, Criminals and Libertines in the South. And I am your host, Dr. Lindsay Byron. Join me as I bring to life a wild menagerie of country boys, kingpins, and working girls living the high life. Until it all came crashing down. Listen to Hookergate on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want early access to new episodes and exclusive bonus content, completely ad-free, be sure to subscribe to iHeart True Crime Plus, available exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
Hey there, I'm Dr. Maya Shankar, and I'm a scientist who studies human behavior. Many of us have experienced a moment in our lives that changes everything, that instantly divides our life into a before and an after. On my podcast, A Slight Change of Plans, I talk to people about navigating these moments. Their stories are full of candor and hard-won wisdom. And you'll hear from scientists who teach us how we can be more resilient in the face of change. Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey guys, welcome to I've Never Said This Before with me, Tommy D'Addario. Since starting this show, I have never had a guest on more than once, until today. Because this actor means so much to so many people, and with this show, Young Royals, officially finished after the final season dropped a few weeks ago, I just had to have him come on so that we could celebrate an incredible run. Of course, I am referring to the brilliant actor Edvin Riding. So by now, hopefully you have heard my interview with the show creator Lisa, and with Edvin's equally brilliant co-star Omar. So this just felt like the missing puzzle piece as we send off such an important show. Edvin has played Prince Wilhelm of Sweden over the last 3 seasons, and we have followed his journey with fellow student Simone Eriksson and all of the wild, messy, beautiful drama that their love story brings. It's one of the strongest representations of queer love in all of television, which is one of the many reasons why so many people have fallen in love with this show. And to me, that deserves a celebration. So, let's see if today we can get Edvin to say something that he has never said before. Edvin, my man, it is so good to see you. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's good to see you too.
I'm so happy that we could do this. I know you've been on a whirlwind and so much has been going on, but it's always a good time to stop and celebrate Young Royals, right?
Yeah, of course, man. Like you said, it's been a whirlwind, but I'm happy and it's beautiful, and every day I still see like the reactions to this last season. And it's just nice. It just makes you realize how blessed you are to have been able to be a part of this.
I have to say, I've been seeing you all over the gram and in fashion spreads. I feel like you are in your fashion era.
Yes.
You're doing the coolest things with your style. You got the cool haircut. I mean, is this just your time to experiment with it all?
Think so, yeah. I mean, I dyed the hair blonde, and that like catapulted me into a lot of different stuff when it comes to fashion. You know, I've started experimenting with it. I think you saw me in Paris. I was wearing the hair with like spikes and this whole, yeah, it's good. I think I have very, very supportive people around me, which makes it like a safe space for me to be able to experiment this much. But I like it. I like it.
Well, you're looking good. I like that you're having fun. It's so much fun to follow. All right. We've got to get down to business. So I imagine this is probably one of your last interviews that is going to be talking about young royals in depth. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it is. It's crazy to think about like 4 years coming to an end. Yeah, it's actually insane.
So how have you been processing that? Have you been going through a grieving phase? Has it been weird for you? Like, how has it been going?
It sounds like such a cliche, but it truly has been like a roller coaster of emotions. I've been like, it was like ahead of shooting season three, I was pretty like, I felt kind of sentimental and kind of like I had all these emotions about like, okay, this is the last time I need to, think about that, da da da. Da. But then like during the course of the shooting, I was pretty good at removing that from my mind while, being in the process, thankfully. Otherwise, I don't really know how I would have been able to do this last season. Because then like when we were done, I was crying my eyes out and I was so like not sad. It was more emotion. I was feeling so emotional that this beautiful thing that I've been so lucky to be a part of was coming to an end. But then I went straight into the next project and I haven't really been too emotional about it since until we had this fan screening here in Stockholm. Because then everything just like collapsed, everything. I was crying so much, but it was beautiful. It was happy, beautiful tears.
I imagine being in a room full of super fans cheering you on and watching the series through their eyes, through their lens. Must have been pretty damn special, huh?
It was one of the craziest things I've ever experienced. It was so beautiful. Also, like for us, we've been wanting to have like a premiere with an audience that is not just like the cast and crew for so long, and to finally be able to get that and to be able to do that with the fans in particular, not just like people from the same industry, just for real fans flown in from all across the globe there to show their love and to be able to like show the final chapter with them and with the cast and crew as well. It was monumental, honestly. We were so emotional when we got backstage. It was beautiful.
Did you have to take a minute backstage to collect yourself after that?
Yeah, definitely. I had to like collect my mind and hug everybody to just like try to get through the night. Yeah, it was a special moment. I won't forget it.
Well, it was a special moment for so many people too, because as you know, this character is so important to so many people who have watched and followed this show. For you, over all the years playing Wilhelm, what has been the best part experiencing life in his shoes?
It's hard to answer because in a way we've like grown into the same person, me and this character. Like we're so connected in so many ways. But for me, I think it's more of like what the process has meant for me. Like I've learned so much professionally as an actor, but also privately, like on a personal level. I've met so many amazing people and I've grown up during the course of this show. And it's taught me so much about like who I am as an actor and as a person. I mean, that goes for the character as well. Like him developing, I've learned some stuff about myself as well. But that goes for like almost every character I play. It's more of like it's almost like you sacrifice something when you go into the character and then you come out on the other end and you like double your money. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, that's the goal at least. But I really feel like I've done that with this show and this character. It's such a like important chapter in my life. I probably will never forget it until I die.
Yeah, well, especially because like you said, you went into the series as a boy, right? And then you're leaving it as an adult, as a man, so to speak. So I imagine throughout all those years, there were kind of lines that were blurred between, is this the character? Is this me? Is it both of us? Like, who am I through this character, right?
Yeah. It's been crazy. I've had a couple of these moments, like it's been like during the course of these 3 years with everything that's been going on, like around the show with our audience and us like traveling around the world to meet these people. And I've had like moments where I'm just like stopping and being like, whoa, this is exactly what Wilhelm is experiencing. Like it's been so like meta in my head, but it's a blessing too to be able to, not everybody gets to experience that. So it's been very helpful.
Is it true that at the beginning of this season, you wrote a letter to your future self as the character? Did you do something like that?
Yeah, it's a pretty important like plot point during this last season. They have what they call like a future week at the school. So, and I did this too. Like when I started high school, it's a pretty common thing here in Sweden. You write a letter to your future self, that a letter that you will read like when you graduate. And Lisa asked us all to, or she asked all of us who play like first year students to write a letter to our future selves for like the character. So I did that. I spent like an hour or two trying to come up with that, but it was nice. I found that letter like a week ago or something, I think. And it threw me back to when I read my own, like my private letter, because when I started high school, none of this Young Royals thing was ever like, I had no idea it would ever come or that it existed or anything. And then when I graduated, we had done 2 seasons. So I got like thrown back. It was another one of those like meta moments.
Do you remember what's something you put in your own letter as Edvin and then in the letter as your character?
I wrote like, I hope you made it through, like in regards to, I hope you didn't quit because of work. Like, I hope you made it through high school. And it just made me think about how difficult it was to like balance school and work at the same time. But also like, I hope you're still doing this. I hope you're still like acting and telling stories to move people. That hit pretty hard. And for Wilhelm, I remember, I think I am gonna post this full letter in a while. I don't know if I'm like ready to do it yet, but maybe in a week or so, or two. But I remember one thing I wrote there. It's about Wilhelm's relationship to his mother and his parents, about how he hopes that they're actually at a place where they can understand each other and where they feel like a deeper connection than what they do now. And he hopes that like she's actually his mother, that's what he feels first and foremost, not just that she's his boss. And spoiler alert for those who haven't seen the last episode yet, but they actually end on a very happy note. Willem and his parents, they end on a note that is like, okay, his mother and his father understands Vila's decision to abdicate and to choose to be like free. It's very beautiful the way that line is like connected in the end.
Man, if I found both letters, one to myself and one to someone I was playing, I would be a mess. Like that what an emotional experience to see those and read those again.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything when you think back on your time on the show and any of the different seasons that you look at and say, man, that was a challenge for me and I did it. Like I did it and I'm proud of that moment?
Well, I mean, each season has been challenging in its own way. I think season 1 was very much, in the beginning, was very much like me being pretty scared and lost and trying to navigate through playing my first lead character and all of that. And then moved on into like working double. I was shooting another TV series at the time and going to school. So like trying to stay like somewhat balanced through that was pretty hard. And I remember when we wrapped that first season, I was feeling very emotional because of that. Like, okay, I managed, I pulled through, like it was possible. And season 2 was pretty challenging in a way where I was feeling a lot of pressure. It was from myself essentially, because I was like imagining all of the expectations that we had from our audience, and that came with a lot of like, performance anxiety or like I was feeling very like pressured, not by anybody else, by myself, I think. But that was a challenge too. And this last season it was probably the easiest to shoot because everybody was so focused on just like enjoying that it was the last time we would ever get to do this. But it had its challenges too, with shooting double again and all of that. But I'd say like as a whole, doing this show with everything that's happened in my life at the same time I feel proud of myself for making it. it was also like, it's hard to describe because it was easy in a way too, because I had so many great people around me, and it was such a happy and creative environment, so that you were able to have fun every day. That's probably the most important thing.
It seems like a really familiar and family-like environment on set, which is always nice to see.
Yeah.
As a viewer of a show, when you feel that through the screen, I think that just makes the experience all the more better. The last season, now we're going to get into some very specific spoilers, so I'm sure
All right.
by the time this episode is out, everyone has seen it. So,
Yeah,
and if you,
hopefully.
and if you haven't, then what's wrong with you? Go watch it.
Exactly. Turn off this interview. Go watch it.
Exactly. So that final scene, is
Yeah.
that what you expected? Did you expect the series to end how it did?
I didn't know. Like, I was in a way, yeah. Sorry, this is gonna sound so like weird, but in a way, yes, that's what I expected, because it was like, to me, like, I felt through Wilhelm that it was like written in the stars. You know what I mean? Like, for him, there was no other option than leaving the royal family, or like leaving that part of his life to be able to be with Simon, because that's the most sustainable way for him to live his life. But I did wonder a few times what Lisa was going to come up with for the last scene and for the ending, but I'm happy it turned out the way it did.
So there was never a moment you thought, oh, they might not be Endgame.
I gotta admit, like, when I was reading the scripts for the first time and reading like the end of episode 5 and all of that, I was like, "Ooh, how are we gonna make this work? how are we gonna get back from this?" But I think somewhere inside myself, I always knew that they were Endgame.
Bring a little optimism into your life with The Bright Side, a new kind of daily podcast from Hello Sunshine, hosted by me, Danielle Robay.
And me, Simone Boyce. Every weekday, we're bringing you conversations about culture, the latest trends, inspiration, and so much more.
Thank you for taking the light, and you're going to shine it all over the world, and it makes me really happy.
I never imagined that I would get the chance to carry this honor and help be a part of this legacy.
Listen to The Bright Side on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search The Bright Side.
Truck stop brothels run by a web of ex-cons. A Commonwealth attorney wasted on whiskey and power. Protection exchanged for cash and flesh. This is Hookergate, Criminals and Libertines in the South. And I am your host, Dr. Lindsay Byron. Join me as I bring to life a wild menagerie of country boys, kingpins, and working girls living the high life. Until it all came crashing down. Listen to Hookergate on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want early access to new episodes and exclusive bonus content, completely ad-free, be sure to subscribe to iHeart True Crime Plus, available exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
Hello. From Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, host of Womanica, a daily podcast that introduces you to the fascinating lives of women history has forgotten. This month, we're bringing you the stories of disappearing acts. There's the 17th century fraudster who convinced men she was a German princess, the 1950s folk singer who literally drove off into the sunset and was never heard from again, the First Nations activist whose kidnapping and murder ignited decades of discourse about Indigenous women's disappearances, and the young daughter of a Russian czar whose legendary escape led to even more intrigue and speculation. These stories make us consider what it means to disappear, and why a woman might even want to make herself scarce. Listen to Womanica on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Where do you think they went after that final scene?
I remember we talked about this. I don't know if it was like on set or if it was like before shooting, even like in a meeting or something. But I remember us talking about them driving until the car ran out of gas, like them just driving south to like Denmark, maybe into Germany. I don't know. They just kept driving probably. And I'm pretty happy with like not knowing what happens next for them. I feel like I'm like very comfortable with letting them go. and do their own thing.
It's such a romantic moment, and
Um,
there's something so, to me, sexy and comforting and in just letting people live and experience life on their own terms. And I don't know, it's beautifully romantic. Are you a romantic person? Are you like going through all these motions and saying, "Oh my God, I love this so much, I feel it," or you're kind of not so much?
yeah, I'm a pretty romantic person. Yeah, I love a corny ending. I do.
Corny, but very
But
important.
beautiful. Yes,
Beautiful and
yes.
important to
I don't
many
mean
men.
corny in like a negative way. I mean it in like this like super cute, like being 16, being in love, that kind of passionate love. That's
Yeah. Yeah, passionate. I love that so much. What do you see your character doing in his now non-royal life? Like, did you ever think about that in letting him go? Is that something that crossed your mind?
not really. Like I've always felt like what needs to be told about Wilhelm is what we're telling during these like 3 seasons. So I've never felt like that acute need to determine like what happens next, what
Mm.
happens after they leave Hillesga. But I mean, I can imagine like I remember doing like the when I was doing my prep for this character ahead of season one, I was writing down like his dreams and goals in life. And it was kind of sad because I realized like he's not allowed to live out these dreams and he's never allowed to let them be anything more than just like interests. But there was a lot of like him being pretty like interested in fashion and those creative kind of stuff. Like we know he's always been like kind of interested in like music. Not that's what he does probably, but like he's been a creative person. You've seen like little hints of that throughout these seasons, and I think that's maybe the path that I hope that's the path he continues down on.
That's really cool that you kind of are able to let him go and let him to feel satisfied with what was written in the script, all the different
Yeah,
seasons. It's not like you left the series being like, "Oh man, I felt like we didn't get to explore X, Y, and
no,
Z."
exactly. But that's thanks to like Lisa being so like certain with the 3 seasons, and that's the way we're supposed to tell this story. And then it's thanks to us being able to do 3 seasons, and that's thanks to the fans and their support. And it's just yeah, it's not everybody gets to experience that. So I'm very grateful for that.
Speaking of Lisa and the team that created the show and wrote the show, there are so many powerful moments throughout this series that has stayed with me, has stayed with fans, and will stay with fans for quite a long time. For
Yeah.
you, is there a scene specifically that really impacted you that you kind of were going through as Edvin and it just affected you in such a strong way? And maybe you still think about sometimes a conflict or a love scene or anything. Was there something that really impacted you?
Well, one answer is the lake scene in episode 6 of the third season. It's very beautiful, and it was such a like free space for us too as actors to do that. And it was just like saying everything we haven't gotten to say yet as the characters to each other as Wilhelm and Simon. And that was really beautiful. But I gotta say, like the whole storyline between Wilhelm and August, like throughout the seasons, has been pretty. I think those scenes are very powerful, partly because Malte is a very talented actor, but also because of like I enjoy working with him, and but also because of like those characters, like what they come from, the relationship they have when we see them for the first time in season one, like with them like competing against each other for the attention of Erik and their different like views on the whole family and traditions and history and all of that and monarchy and the way that their storyline has like developed through the seasons and where it ends. I think that's really strong. I think those kinds of things where it's like it's family and it's really uncomfortable conversations, but they managed to solve it. That's yeah, that's powerful for me.
I know for certainty through talking to you throughout the years and through today and through seeing your face and how proud you seem and just reflective on everything that you're really going to miss this experience.
Oh
And
yeah.
that must be such a great feeling to have. So what will you miss the most?
Well, first of all, you're so right. It's I am gonna miss this experience so much. Like I feel so privileged to have been able to work with so many like young, talented, ambitious people, and having periods of each year where I get to spend almost every day with them and work with them and be creative with them and learn so much. I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't come around again. And I hope I've made as much as I can out of this time and learned as much as I can from these people. A lot of these people are like some of the closest people to me, and I learn so much from them every day. And we are going to work together again, some of us, but not like everybody at the same time. And that's pretty, you get kind of sentimental when you think about it. But it's been a privilege to surround myself with these people. I think that's what I'm going to miss the most.
And speaking of working together, I had Omar on my show, and he
Yeah.
teased that the two of you are cooking up something, that you're working
Yeah.
on something, and he didn't say much more. Is there anything else you can share about what the two of you might be up to?
It's so exciting. We've been like starting to tease this thing. I don't know. No, I wouldn't say it's too much more. It's a project that we both been working on for like more than a year now, and we're very excited. It's been a fun process throughout the whole thing, and we're very excited to tell the world what it is.
When might that be happening?
I wouldn't dare say, but people won't have to wait too long.
Fair enough. And I presume it's not related to Young Royals.
No, unfortunately not. Young Royals is it's a closed chapter, but it's supposed to be that way, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, we look forward to that. I think we're eagerly awaiting, so I can't wait to see. Although I do have a guess, but I'm not going to give it. I'm not
Okay,
gonna say
no,
it.
don't do that because I won't be able to hold my face.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I will not guess, but that's awesome. And it gives people
Yeah.
something to look forward to. But let's play for a minute. So it's not Young Royals related, but let's say there was a spinoff down the line. What would you want to see happen in that?
Personally, I would want to see something that has nothing to do with Wilhelm, but that's just because I feel like his story is done. If I have to answer something, maybe it's a prequel of the early years of the Queen.
You're like with a different actor and a different set of characters.
Totally different. Yeah.
That's funny. That's cool. And you know what? You never know. There could be something there. But what's so cool is I've talked to Lisa as well, and she really hopes to work with all of you all again in some different capacity. And again, that just shows me what a beautiful experience this was. So I can't wait to see if something there might happen down the line as well.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. That would be a dream.
So it seems like 3 seasons, beautiful ending. It's told the story that needed and was intended to be told. Would you have done more seasons, or you feel like it was kind of the perfect time in your life to wrap up this role?
No, I think like for various reasons, like partially because I trust Lisa when she says like 3 seasons is enough. 3 seasons is what it's supposed to be. I trust that. I also feel like within myself that I have no need to say anything more about this character. But also, as you say, like I think I'm in a stage in my life right now where I'm ready to take on other projects and play other characters and do different things. That's what I'm focusing on now.
And I think it's always good to go out on a high where you leave people wanting more, right? And you feel like, oh man, if we had one more season, we'd be so excited, because that shows that you all have done the job that you were meant to do.
Exactly. And it's the beautiful thing is that we have an audience that will continue to tell the story. And it's like in their hands now. It's their imagination that can run freely. I've already seen some, like, I don't know if some of them, I think some of them are like jokingly written, but it's fun to read like what happens next, what happens in the future for these characters.
Yeah, there's so much fan fiction out there. So you do check some of it out.
I do. I try not to. I don't think it's good for me to like stay invested in that, but it's fun to read. Yeah.
The number one fan question I've seen about you that people are dying to know, when your character removed the nail polish,
right?
What did that represent to you?
Well, I remember when we shot that scene, I think that nail polish was really beautiful plot point. But in the end, I think he removes it because he's very, very, this is like a point in the show and in his life where he's very affected by the news about his brother and his like confusion and was his brother gonna approve of him the way he is and all of that. And I think that gets to him in that moment. So he doesn't dare to like show his love for Simon that publicly in that way, because he's like very affected by not only by like his brother and all of that. It's more like him being affected by the traditions and the expectations from like the royal family and the history that he comes from, which has been such an important part of his story throughout these seasons. And this is like a moment where he feels very low, I think. But it's also like necessary because it guides him towards the decision that he ultimately makes, where he chooses to let go of these expectations and this history to actually be free and to be with Simon. Yeah, but it's a strong scene. Like it doesn't happen that much, but it hits hard, and I've noticed.
Yeah, it's a scene that I see talked about quite a bit, and again, it's got such a powerful and beautiful message. So it's pretty cool that you got to be a part of that. The other thing I keep seeing a lot of fans wondering is if there's any way you would dub the show in English. People are now? Like, we want Edvin. Like, why aren't they doing it? Like, has that ever been a conversation?
No, we dubbed season 1 and I dubbed season 1 and 2 in English. I did the English version as well, but for this third season, I was at a point in my life where I had shot 4 different projects in a row, and I was feeling very, very tired and needed some rest. And we tried to make it work. We tried to like push the deadline for the English dubbing, but we couldn't make it work, unfortunately. But I think I haven't watched the English version actually, but from what I've heard, I think the guy did a good job.
You know what? Yes. But I think, the fandom would have enjoyed you. So who knows? Yeah. Maybe in the future, there'll be another version.
I mean, maybe like throughout the years, as I continue to meet the audience, if they can ask me to like say these lines in English, I can say a couple of them at a time. And then eventually they'll have the full script in English.
We'll just keep piecing them all together.
Exactly.
That's incredible. That would make one really fun TikTok. I'm just
saying. Also, you see me like aging throughout the whole thing.
You're like 90 years old saying that last line of season 3.
Yeah. Are you really over me? Yeah.
Right. You know what? I'm going to be in charge of spearheading that project. So
Perfect.
Nice. Let's go.
Bring a little optimism into your life with The Bright Side, a new kind of daily podcast from Hello Sunshine, hosted by me, Danielle Robay.
And me, Simone Boyce. Every weekday, we're bringing you conversations about culture, the latest trends, inspiration, and so much more.
Thank you for taking the light, and you're going to shine it all over the world, and it makes me really happy.
I never imagined that I would get the chance to carry this honor and help be a part of this legacy.
Listen to The Bright Side on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search The Bright Side.
Hello. From Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, host of Womanica, a daily podcast that introduces you to the fascinating lives of women history has forgotten. This month, we're bringing you the stories of disappearing acts. There's the 17th century fraudster who convinced men she was a German princess, the 1950s folk singer who literally drove off into the sunset and was never heard from again, the First Nations activist whose kidnapping and murder ignited decades of discourse about Indigenous women's disappearances, and the young daughter of a Russian czar whose legendary escape led to even more intrigue and speculation. These stories make us consider what it means to disappear, and why a woman might even want to make herself scarce. Listen to Womanica on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Truck stop brothels run by a web of ex-cons. A Commonwealth attorney wasted on whiskey and power. Protection exchanged for cash and flesh. This is Hooker Gate, Criminals and Libertines in the South. And I am your host, Dr. Lindsay Byron. Join me as I bring to life a wild menagerie of country boys, kingpins, and working girls living the high life. Until it all came crashing down. Listen to Hookergate on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want early access to new episodes and exclusive bonus content, completely ad-free, be sure to subscribe to iHeart True Crime Plus, available exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
You strike me as someone who can be a very off-the-cuff person, improving. Like, do you enjoy doing improv? Was there a lot of improv in season 3?
Yeah, there was quite a bit. I enjoy it, and I enjoy being in the moment and doing it. I enjoy having the opportunity and being in that mindset where I'm so connected to the character and to the story, and there's an environment between me and the other actor where we can just bounce off of each other. That's the best thing, honestly. And we got to do that a few times this season. There are a few moments that are improvised that are really beautiful, and that's a huge thanks to our directors who makes that possible for us, because it takes a pretty good director to create that environment.
Was anything in the final scene improvised? Because it felt like it was, or was that just you guys being so authentic in the given text and dialogue?
No, I think that scene is pretty much as it was written. But the lake scene that comes a few minutes before, that's a lot of that is improvised.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's huge thanks to Linnea Roxheim, who directed that episode, because she prepped us really good, and that was our last shooting day too. So we were already kind of emotional, and she was like, "This is your chance to say everything you haven't said yet. Make connections, do little parallels, do whatever you want, stay true to each other and to your characters, and we'll see what happens."
Wow.
And it was 2 or 3 8-minute takes, I think, that we did.
You guys worked so much, and you were in so many scenes throughout all 3 seasons of the show. I imagine it is hard to remember exactly what you did when. Have you gone back and watched the whole series or not yet?
Yeah, I have. I've watched the first 2 episodes a couple of times. I think I've watched episode 3 at least once. And I think I've watched episode 5 3 times maybe, because that's a brilliant episode. But episode 6, the last episode, I've actually only watched it twice. The first time I watched it, it wasn't done yet. It wasn't fully graded or sound edited. So the first time I saw it in its final form was at that screening here in Stockholm with the fans. So that made it even more special, because it felt like we were on the same level almost. I knew what was going to happen, but but I didn't know how it would feel to watch it.
So it's not weird for you to watch yourself back. You can get through it.
Yeah, I can, but it's always a hassle to go through, because you analyze yourself like no other human being can. I think about the way I'm moving my eyebrows, or the tiniest little muscle contractions, or the length of different looks. It's horrible, but I think it's a necessary part of being an actor too, to be able to watch yourself and to learn from that. And it depends on what kind of setting it is too. At that screening with the fans, it was a lot of I was just trying to enjoy that moment and take in the aura in the room.
I think for me, it would be pretty funny and kind of weird to see myself making out so much on a big screen. Was that something you had to get used to?
Yeah, but I've gotten pretty used to it. I know now that it's what it is, and I remember what it felt like. You always when you're shooting those kinds of scenes, it's always very it's so staccato. Oftentimes it's so choreographed, and it's so you don't. I don't get too uncomfortable watching those.
Is there something from set that you took that nobody knows?
I don't know. This is such a burning question. Everybody wants to know this.
Everybody wants to know.
Let me think what I have, actually. I have 2 snow globes. I have the broken one That's the one that I threw in the trash. And then I have a whole one that's not broken, that I got as a wrap gift. And then I have the Hilishka suit. I have like little artifacts from like different kinds of props. Like I have a Hilishka coffee mug, and I have, those kinds of things. And actually some clothes from other characters as well. I won't say who, but they had like a outlet sale of every character's wardrobe, and I remember like looking through the other actors' wardrobes, and I was like, maybe this could work for me. Just snatched it.
So if we see you walking around town in these outfits, we'll know.
You know what? One day it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
That's amazing. Edmund, you are so accomplished. You've done so much in your career already. It feels like you're always working, and you deserve all the success that has come your way. What do you hope to accomplish in the future? Like, do you have any burning desires and goals that you haven't mentioned yet?
I've said this before. Sorry, it's like the opposite of your podcast title. What I have said before is that I want to do this for like so long, and I want to do this until I'm like 90, and like that includes me working like overseas and working in other countries. And essentially what it comes down to is I want to tell stories that move people, and I want to work with talented people, and I've been privileged enough to be able to work with some of these people now, especially during this last year. And what I hope is like short term is to work with these people again, and long term is to just like continue to evolve and do loads of other characters and different characters. I want to like show my register. I want to play characters. People should look at my project and be like, that's an interesting choice. That's what I want to accomplish.
Well, I have no doubt you will. I believe last time we spoke, I referenced the BuzzFeed article that compared you to a Meryl Streep, and saying that you will have a career much like her. So I think you're on the right track, my friend.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, and you lead your life with gratitude, and that's another thing I really enjoy about you. I've spoken to hundreds, and at this point, probably thousands of people in my career, but you always strike me as someone who truly is grateful for everything that's come your way and the work that you've done. And I really think that's a beautiful message to put out, among many other messages, like the importance of, your mental health. And you've been so open and honest about that. And in fact, prior to us hopping on this, you said, I have my therapy appointment for an hour and can't wait to talk to you after. And you're so in touch with that side of who you are. For anybody listening today who might be struggling or having a tough day, what advice can you give about how you go through your life?
One of the most important things that I try to remind myself of is that like all emotions are valid. What matters is what you do with them. So if you feel lost or scared or angry or whatever it may be, that's fine. That's so normal. People have no idea. It's everybody goes through these emotions. What matters is what you do with them, and that you like take responsibility to learn about them and learn about yourself, and set boundaries and learn what your needs are. And for me, what has helped is therapy and talking about it. That may not be the case for all people, but I'd say at least like give it a try, and at least don't be like ashamed and contain these emotions. Like talk to people about it, because everybody's going through it. You're not alone, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Is that something that took you a long time to really believe that you are not alone?
Yeah, it's taken me a long time. I think I'm still like struggling with it in some ways, but I've come a long way. And I think it's also like it's funny because I'm 21. But I feel like I've come a long way, and I probably have a long way ahead of me. But I look at that with like excitement. Like I know I'm gonna go through a lot of different things, and it's gonna be tough at times and it's gonna be good at times. But I'm like every day learning like what I need to continue and what I need to evolve. And so I can look towards the future with excitement. And I'm really happy about that. And I'm happy that's where I'm at in my life.
Well said, my friend. And a good reminder that there's absolutely no shame in taking time to take care of ourselves, our minds, our body, our spirits, all of it.
Definitely.
Well, it's that point of the show where I ask all of my guests the burning question based off the title of my show, which is, I've never said this before. So, while I feel like this interview, you've definitely spoken about a lot of things that you haven't said before, I'm wondering, is there anything else, whether it's silly or deep or whatever comes to mind, that's something you haven't said before?
Something that I've been thinking about, like I keep coming back to it because it's a great quote, and that is dream big, live bigger. And what that means is like you always hear like dream big and aim for the stars, yada yada. But it's important to try to like live big as well, like collect experiences and try those things you've never tried before, and like throw yourself out there. Because as my therapist usually says, people can handle a lot more than you think. And that goes for like yourself as well. So don't be afraid to like throw yourself out there and live big. That's what I'm going to leave you with.
Live big. I couldn't love that more. That's a beautiful sentiment as we wrap up today. And I have to tell you, you are the only person that has been invited on my show twice now. Out of everyone I've talked to, you are the only interview to air twice.
Wow. That's a huge honor, man. Thank you, Tommy.
I am thrilled to have you on. Like I said, I so believe in who you are as a person and what you stand for, and it goes without saying your brilliant amount of talent and you know, capabilities that's going to continue growing further and further in your career for decades to come. But I really smile when I see people killing it who deserve to be killing it. So it's truly an honor, and I'm so glad we got to hang out and talk today.
Me too, man. Me too. I'm glad we could make it work.
Me too. And I hope you have a little vacation or R&R in store for you. You need some downtime. So take some time for you.
I will.
All right, Evan. Well, until we meet again.
Yes. Take care, man.
I've Never Said This Before is hosted by me, Tommy D'Addario. This podcast is executive produced by Andrew Puglisi at iHeartRadio and by me, Tommy, with editing by Joshua Kolodny. I've Never Said This Before is part of the Elvis Duran Podcast Network on iHeart Podcasts. For more, rate, review, and subscribe to our show. And if you like this episode, tell your friends. Until next time, I'm Tommy D'Addario.
Bring a little optimism into your life with The Bright Side, a new kind of daily podcast from Hello Sunshine, hosted by me, Danielle Robay.
And me, Simone Boyce. Every weekday, we're bringing you conversations about culture, the latest trends, inspiration, and so much more.
I am so excited about this podcast, The Bright Side. You guys are giving people a chance to shine a light on their lives, shine a light on a little advice that they want to share.
Listen to The Bright Side on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search The Bright Side.
Truck stop brothels run by a web of ex-cons. A Commonwealth attorney wasted on whiskey and power. Protection exchanged for cash and flesh. This is Hookergate, Criminals and Libertines in the South. And I am your host, Dr. Lindsay Byron. Join me as I bring to life a wild menagerie of country boys, kingpins, and working girls living the high life. Until it all came crashing down. Listen to Hookergate on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want early access to new episodes and exclusive bonus content, completely ad-free, be sure to subscribe to iHeart True Crime Plus, available exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
Hey there, I'm Dr. Maya Shankar, and I'm a scientist who studies human behavior. Many of us have experienced a moment in our lives that changes everything, that instantly divides our life into a before and an after. On my podcast, A Slight Change of Plans, I talk to people about navigating these moments. Their stories are full of candor and hard-won wisdom. And you'll hear from scientists who teach us how we can be more resilient in the face of change. Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.